Hello everyone, and welcome to my Bold and Beautiful Today channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Does Taylor give up her dignity to cement Ridge in her lifelong bed? Is there a reason why Taylor and Ridge Forrester sleep together, Bold and the Beautiful? With Steffi Forrester, Taylor Hayes was dehumanized by Bold and the Beautiful last week, clearing the way for things to occur. Taylor has nearly drooled over Ridge Forrester on B&B multiple times since arriving in LA this time. Taylor Hayes set her broken heart condition on a fast road to ruin unless she is actually dying and enjoying life to the fullest. He is aware of Ridge's fragility. What is wrong with her? But without pausing, the dressmaker pulls her into one bed and leaves another. Taylor Hayes, Ridge, Taylor, Bold and the Beautiful. Then there is Steffi, who longed for her parents to fall in love again and spent years on Bold and the Beautiful. Steffi only sees Taylor Hayes' self-serving agenda, even if this might ruin her. Getting rid of the Logans is that. But when history repeats itself with Ridge, Taylor, and Brooke, Ridge will surely trot back to Brooke Logan, Catherine Kelly Lang. B&B spoilers, the bus is being driven by Steffi Forrester's inner 12-year-old. Steffi Forrester in Bold and the Beautiful is so determined to get Brooke Logan out of her father's life that she believes there is only one way to accomplish this. Steffi, a 12-year-old with a recently divorced mother and father, is desperate for her parents to get back together. Fans of Bold and the Beautiful, however, want the soap opera to help Steffi move on from this since she is not 12 and her parents divorced years ago. Nevertheless, she is content as long as she separates Brooke and her father. This seems to be her primary goal. The guy she loves, Ridge Forrester, is then given to her by her mother, which also works out well for the Forrester daughter. Even if Taylor Hayes is no longer under death watch, she might still be capable of manipulation. She may be on a mission based on her peculiar conduct on Bold and Beautiful. Spoilers for Bold and the Beautiful, Taylor Hayes and Ridge romp for safety? When Taylor thought she was dying, Ridge Forrester was paying close attention to her on Bold and the Beautiful. He then supported her while she dealt with her broken heart syndrome. Therefore, he would not dare risk a recurrence of that condition in her. However, Taylor seizes hold of Ridge Forrester before he can remove Brooke's remaining scent. This could therefore be her security maneuver. Ridge wouldn't consider leaving her with that illness hanging over her head after he christens this relationship once more. Taylor Hayes is aware of this. Taylor Hayes, Ridge Forrester, is Bold and Beautiful. On Friday's show, she jumped in bed with him. Then perhaps this would be the final nail in her coffin. He wouldn't risk causing her so much pain that she would have to fight broken heart syndrome again, would he? Ridge isn't giving it much thought. If, or rather, when, Ridge Forrester returns to Brooke, he will probably face his daughter's anger. According to the history of Bold and the Beautiful, this is the dressmaker's most likely scenario. However, he will be manipulating Taylor's health this time. This time, he most likely didn't consider the consequences of getting into bed with Taylor Hayes. Her health issue would probably worsen if she were dumped for Brooke. But since her health is now at stake, he probably didn't consider the level of dedication this conquest would require. Ridge probably has a straightforward explanation for bedding down his ex. He slept with Taylor Hayes on Bold and the Beautiful last week in an attempt to stroke his ego and possibly even as a kind of covert retaliation. However, he most likely anchored himself to her without giving it any thought. She might experience a relapse of her condition if he abandoned her once more, as he has done in the past. Ridge would then be held accountable. It appears that there are a number of reasons why Ridge and Taylor's romance on the CBS serial opera could lead to catastrophe. Is Brooke's strategy to stop Carter and Hope progressing? According to teasers for the Bold and the Beautiful, Brooke Logan carried out Carter Walton's strategy. She agreed to become the chief executive officer. It was dangerous for Brooke to make the social media announcement because she had no time to explain her plan to Ridge Forrester. Just before Zend Forrester Dominguez started live filming in the executive suite, she sent him an SMS. Without a script, Brooke delivered a live stream that effectively informed social media users who reacted to the Forrester Creations digital warning about the company's developments. However, Carter was the primary target of Brooke's message. According to spoilers on The Bold and the Beautiful, Zend Forrester Dominguez serves as a sounding board. Zend consented to work as a mole for his family's company. He was happy not to resign in order to show support for his uncle, grandfather, and cousin, Steffi Forrester Finnegan, Jacqueline McInnes Wood, and Eric Forrester, John McCook. He complied with his family's request to go back to work and provide information. He was then shocked to hear about Brooke's unexpected choice to become CEO. However, Brooke reassured him that she shared his indignation and had a strategy. She is supporting Carter's action in an attempt to return authority to the Forrester family. Spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful, is Taylor Hayes the flaw? Viewers are aware that B&B occasionally rushes a climax or resolution in its narratives. Viewers, however, most likely don't anticipate that Brooke will swiftly arrange for Ridge and his family to regain control. Rather, there seems to be a reason for Taylor Hayes to be at Eric's estate, where Ridge is currently lodging. As was the case recently when she learned that her daughter, Hope Logan, and Carter were together, Brooke frequently encounters shocking situations. It is therefore not unreasonable to assume that Brooke will learn that Ridge is not merely angry with her. Rather, he tends to turn to Taylor's reassuring embrace. If all goes according to plan, Brooke's tenure as CEO may be prolonged. Spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful, what will Ridge Forrester do? When Ridge's best buddy Carter broke his confidence, he was understandably furious. He justified that behavior by blaming Hope for his manipulation, which is hardly accurate. As a result of the aforementioned, Ridge left Brooke 10 times over the course of several decades. If she hadn't shocked him with the live-streamed CEO announcement, he could have calmed down eventually. However, that digital shock occurred, and fans are aware that Ridge makes blunders when he becomes extremely emotional. He will therefore see Taylor as a reliable source. It's likely that Brooke won't be able to communicate her sincere business concept to him, and this will be a very unpleasant collection of Christmas episodes to watch. Well, humbug in California's Los Angeles. Forrester Creations was struggling against both external competition and internal power battles, so the stakes were higher than ever. Believing that their vision was the only path ahead, Steffi and Ridge Forrester had been planning for weeks to retake the company and restore its legacy. They were unprepared, though, for a startling turn of events that would leave them reeling. Forrester Creations, under unexpected leadership, achieved a victory that none had anticipated, and the fallout would rock the family's foundation. The competition between Ridge, Steffi, and the other members of the Forrester family had intensified. Ever the patriarch, Ridge thought that the company's prosperity depended on his vision and leadership. As the legitimate heir to the Forrester throne, Steffi, however, loathed any meddling from outsiders such as Brooke Logan and Hope Logan. Brooke, meanwhile, had been taking risks of her own. Her recent actions, such as accepting the CEO role, had sparked a flurry of debate within the organization. While some regarded her rise as a necessary shakeup to keep the company relevant in a cutthroat environment, others saw it as a betrayal of the Forrester legacy. Whatever the viewpoints, one thing was certain: Brooke was going to show that she had what it takes to guide Forrester Creations to a level of success never seen before. Brooke quickly put her company's ideas into action after settling into her position as CEO. She led a drive to update the brand's image, worked with creative designers, and implemented novel marketing techniques. Ridge and Steffi viewed Brooke's adjustments as a break from the company's historic ideals, hence they were skeptical of and opposed to these actions. Brooke persisted in spite of the resistance, sure that her plan would succeed. She was aware that Forrester Creations needed to change along with the fashion industry. Brooke stated, "We can't cling to the past," at a contentious board meeting. If we want to stay relevant, we have to be bold. The revelation occurred during a private fashion show that Brooke had planned to introduce the brand's most recent collection. With everything depending on its success, the event was a high-stakes bet. Ridge and Steffi, who were dubious of Brooke's strategy, observed from the sidelines, certain that the event would fail. However, it was evident from the start of the program that Brooke's risk had paid off. The collection was a magnificent fusion of creativity and tradition, skillfully fusing new flair with Forrester's timeless grace. Top buyers and industry leaders were among the enthralled audience. As each model strutted the runway, applause broke out, and it was evident by the end of the event that Forrester Creations had not only fulfilled but surpassed expectations. Unquestionably successful, the event created a buzz that swept the fashion industry like wildfire. Media outlets praised the collection as a game-changer for the brand, and orders flooded in. In a single stroke, Brooke had silenced her detractors and resurrected Forrester Creations, doing the seemingly impossible. For Steffi and Ridge, the victory was a tough pill to chew. They had misjudged Brooke's ability and now had to face the fact that her leadership had elevated the business to unprecedented levels. The showcase's success seemed like a personal setback for Steffi. Brooke's win served as a sobering reminder that she wasn't the only person who could run the company, even though she had always considered herself the heir to the Forrester legacy. The result had a profound effect on Ridge as well. He had always opposed Brooke's proposals and maintained his belief in his plan for Forrester Creations. Ridge now found himself doubting his own judgment in light of her leadership's apparent success. He struggled with feelings of uncertainty and regret after coming to the humble conclusion that he might have been mistaken. The Forrester family was rocked by the consequences from the fashion show. The company's power dynamics had changed as a result of Brooke's victory, and her critics were forced to adjust to the new situation. Following their loss, Steffi and Ridge especially were at a loss for what to do or how to go. Brooke saw the showcase's success as confirmation of her leadership and vision. However, it also presented a unique set of difficulties. She was a target because of the victory, and she was aware that her role as CEO would be challenged going forward. Telling her staff, "This is just the beginning," Brooke stated. "We've proven what we're capable of, but we can't afford to let our guard down." The dynamics within Forrester Creations continued to change as the company embarked on a new phase. The organization as a whole was affected by the seismic upheaval that Brooke's leadership had brought about. Workers who had previously supported Ridge and Steffi started to support Brooke because they were moved by her vision and her track record of success. Meanwhile, Steffi started to reconsider her strategy. Despite her continued animosity toward Brooke, she was unable to ignore the influence of her leadership. Steffi understood that she would have to change and figure out how to collaborate with Brooke rather than against him if she wished to regain her place in the organization. Ridge also had to reflect for a while. He had to face his own prejudices and presumptions as a result of the fashion showcase's success, and he started to wonder if his opposition to change had been hurting the business. He recognized that Brooke's efforts had been crucial to the company's recent success, even though he wasn't yet ready to fully embrace her vision. Forrester Creations' victory in the fashion show was a watershed moment, but it also paved the way for more difficulties and disputes. The path ahead looked to be just as turbulent as ever, and the struggle between Brooke, Steffi, and Ridge was far from done. One thing was evident as the Forrester family struggled with the fallout from Brooke's success: the fight for Forrester Creations' soul was far from over. The drama was only getting started in a society where betrayal, loyalty, and ambition frequently clash. After weeks of simmering tension, Brooke Logan and Ridge Forrester's relationship was left hanging by a thread after an intense encounter. The time had come for the reckoning after months of growing tensions over corporate intrigue, familial allegiance, and deeply personal betrayals. Once the picture of a timeless romance, Brooke and Ridge were now on opposing sides of an emotional battleground. Their differences aired in a furious argument that revealed the weaknesses in their otherwise unshakable relationship. With Brooke's contentious choice to take the CEO job at Forrester Creations acting as the impetus for the most recent split, the turmoil inside the Forrester family had escalated to a fever pitch. Ridge, who had long been the lifeblood of the family business, felt deceived and taken by surprise by Brooke's attempt to seize power. It was a personal as well as professional insult to him, undermining the relationship and trust they had developed over the years. But Brooke had a different perspective. She felt that in order to safeguard the company's future and guarantee that the Logans' efforts were valued, she had to take certain actions. She believed that her rise to the top was evidence of her fortitude and foresight, traits that the Forresters had frequently minimized or disregarded. However, Ridge was unable to see past what he saw as Brooke's betrayal because he was so ingrained in his sense of tradition and family lineage. The Forrester mansion, a location rich in their relationship's past, served as the private setting for the altercation. As Ridge entered the room in the late evening, his eyes flaming with rage and his jaw set, the tension in the room was evident. Sitting on the couch and holding a glass of wine, Brooke gazed up at him with a look that was a mixture of fatigue and defiance. Ridge said, his voice low but vibrating with barely held wrath, "I can't believe you did this, Brooke. You snatched the job that should have gone to Steffi or me, went behind my back, and for what? To make a point? To boost your self-esteem?" Brooke put down her drink and stood, looking directly into his eyes. "Ridge, this was not about ego. The goal was to save the business. I was focused on the future, while you and Steffi were occupied with holding on to the past. Forrester required a leader who was flexible and capable of making difficult decisions. And it was obvious that you weren't going to be that person." Ridge felt as though she had slapped him across the face. "That's your opinion of me, then?" he fired back. "That I'm a relic incapable of adapting to change? You don't even respect me enough to talk to me about it first, despite everything I've done for this family and this company?" Brooke's voice soared as she let out her frustration. "Have you any respect? I've been by your side for years, Ridge, as you made decision after decision without seeking my opinion. But I'm the bad guy the minute I take charge? That's impressive coming from someone who has never thought twice about prioritizing his family's needs over mine." Long-suppressed grievances surfaced as the dispute intensified. Ridge said that Brooke was self-serving and manipulative, but Brooke retorted that Ridge had always put the Forresters before the Logans. Each of their statements was a dagger aiming at the other's weaknesses, piercing and cutting. "You have always denigrated me, haven't you?" Brooke remarked, her voice trailing off into tears. "I will never be good enough for you or your priceless family, no matter what I do. Here we are, despite my best efforts to show my belonging and get acceptance. I'm still being treated like an outsider by you." With a sad grimace, Ridge shook his head. "You are aware that's untrue. However, acceptance isn't the point of this. Brooke, trust is key here. And at this moment, I'm not sure if I can still trust you." Brooke was momentarily rendered speechless by the crushing blow of his words, which lingered heavy in the air. When she did manage to speak, it was tinged with anger and hurt. "Ridge, would you like to discuss trust? Let's talk about how you've always turned to Taylor when things between us got difficult. Let's discuss the innumerable ways you have weakened our union by prioritizing the interests of others over our own." The debate changed course when Ridge's ex-wife Taylor Hayes, who is a constant source of friction in their relationship, was brought up. Ridge's voice became icy and his features darkened. "Avoid involving Taylor in this. We're not talking about her for this reason." "Yes, you are. Your decisions and deeds are what have led us to this point." Brooke was not going to give up. "And Ridge, what about your decisions? For years, you have made me feel as though I must vie for your affection and allegiance. That game is over for me. Perhaps you are the one who doesn't belong in this marriage if you can't embrace me for who I am and what I have to offer." Her words hung heavy between them and the room fell silent. Both of them remained silent for a time, taken aback by the seriousness of what had just been uttered. The terrible understanding that their relationship had reached a breaking point from which there might not be a way back was a moment of clarity. Ridge looked away as the altercation came to an end, his shoulders hunching beneath the strain of his feelings. With a hint of sadness in his voice, he muttered, "I don't know if we can come back from this, Brooke. Perhaps we have caused too much harm to one another." A knot formed in Brooke's throat, but she fought the need to cry. "Perhaps we have," she said in a resigned tone. "However, if that is the case, it is because we have long since ceased to fight for one another." Ridge left Brooke alone with her thoughts and the broken remains of their love after exiting the room. Her thoughts were racing with a mixture of remorse, despair, and rage as she collapsed back onto the couch. A part of her still held onto the dream that they would be able to reconcile in spite of everything. But for the first time, she started to question whether love would be sufficient to close the widening gap between them. For Brooke and Ridge, as well as the dynamics inside the Forrester family, the confrontation was a watershed moment. Their conflict had become more than a personal issue, it affected the business and those in their immediate vicinity. Both Brooke and Ridge were forced to deal with the fallout from their words and deeds as the dust settled, uncertain of what lay ahead for their once unbreakable bond. One thing was apparent, even though the future was still unclear, Brooke and Ridge's love story, which had previously been a source of strength and optimism, was now at a turning point. Only time would tell if they would manage to mend and rebuild or if they would continue on their path of strife and alienation. Brooke rushes to see Ridge as he climbs into bed with Taylor in the hopes that he won't get the wrong idea. Ridge Forrester and Brooke Logan's world is anything from predictable, and as Brooke finds herself in a race against time, their turbulent love story takes yet another dramatic turn. High-stakes drama, lingering feelings, and a misunderstanding lead to a moment that could permanently alter the trajectory of their relationship. When Brooke finds out that Ridge plans to take comfort in Taylor Hayes' arms, she knows she has to move quickly to stop him from making a choice he might later come to regret, one that could permanently destroy their relationship. A string of miscommunications stoked by deceptions and emotional scars is where the trouble starts. Ridge feels deceived and disillusioned after learning about Brooke's deeds at Forrester Creations. He has reached his breaking point due to the strain of managing a heritage company and juggling intricate family dynamics. Taylor's constant presence and support give him the solace and familiarity he much needs in the midst of this chaos. But Brooke has an alternative perspective. Although she acknowledges her shortcomings, she thinks Ridge is letting his annoyance impair his judgment. She is devastated to learn from a mutual friend that Ridge has stormed out of the office and is on his way to Taylor's house. She fears that Ridge would seek solace in Taylor's embrace, thus reigniting their previous affair. Given Ridge's track record of making snap decisions, Brooke determines she cannot watch helplessly. Before it's too late, she needs to face him. Brooke experiences a lot of worry and introspection on the way to Taylor's house. Her mind is racing with images of their history together as she navigates Beverly Hills' twisting streets. In her mind, the highs and lows of their intense love story and several betrayals play like a movie reel. She is aware that this could be a pivotal moment that either brings them back together or permanently separates them. Brooke grips the steering wheel fiercely and murmurs to herself, "Ridge can't do this. Not after all that we've endured. He must understand my feelings and how much I still adore him." Though doubt nags at the back of her mind, her determination drives her actions. Would she even get a response from Ridge? Or had Taylor's reassuring embrace and assurances of a less convoluted, simpler future already won him over and broken his heart? Ridge, meantime, is battling his own mixed feelings at Taylor's house. Ever the sympathetic listener, Taylor recognizes his weakness and takes advantage of the chance to rekindle their relationship. She pours them each a glass of wine and settles into the soft sofa next him, her eyes full of understanding and compassion. Taylor gently puts a consoling hand on Ridge's arm and whispers, "You've been through so much, Ridge. You deserve someone who prioritizes you and genuinely sees you." Ridge lets out a sigh, his face tired. "Taylor, it's just so difficult. It's always a struggle with Brooke. I'm not sure if I have what it takes to keep battling." Taylor's voice falls to a private whisper as she leans in a little. "You are no longer required to fight. Peace is yours. Love is possible without all the hassles." Unspoken longing permeates the moment as Taylor approaches with obvious intent. Ridge pauses, caught between the promise of something new and the draw of the past. He appears to be about to give in when they are interrupted by a loud sound. With her heart racing and her breath coming in sharp gasps, Brooke storms through the front door. As she looks at the scenario in front of her, with Ridge and Taylor seated together and the tension in the air evident, she is overcome with feelings of fear, fury, and an overpowering sense of urgency. "Ridge," she screams, her voice trembling. "I must speak with you." Taylor stands with a composed yet determined expression, her eyes narrowing. "Brooke, now is not the moment. Ridge wanted a vacation from everything, including you, which is why he came here." Ignoring her, Brooke concentrates only on Ridge. "Ridge, don't do this. Don't let a miscommunication destroy all we've worked so hard to create together." Ridge slowly gets to his feet, his face unreadable. "Brooke, you shouldn't have came here. You couldn't even give me the space I needed. All three sides reveal their feelings in the ensuing conflict, which is unvarnished and unadulterated. Brooke begs Ridge to change his mind and realize that their love is worth battling for in spite of all the challenges they face. Although she admits her errors, she maintains that if they work together, they can overcome them. Brooke's voice quivers as she continues, "Ridge, I know I've hurt you. However, we have consistently returned to one another. Don't let this be the end, please." But Taylor is unwilling to give up her opportunity to have Ridge back. She refutes Brooke's claims with a composed yet incisive reminder of Ridge's suffering as a result of their turbulent relationship. Taylor remarks, "Brooke, perhaps it's time to acknowledge that Ridge deserves better. He deserves someone who doesn't disappoint him all the time." Ridge's inability to comprehend the conflicting narratives causes the tension to rise. He finally expresses his truth as his rage erupts. "Both of you want me to choose, but what about my desires?" Ridge says, raising his voice. "I'm sick of being in the center. To determine what's best for me, for my future, I need time." As Ridge's words set in, Brooke's heart sinks. She understands that her presence might have made things even more difficult. She doesn't give up completely, though, even when doubt begins to sneak in. She gives Ridge a final glance while crying, then turns to walk away. Brooke whispers, "I just hope you remember, Ridge. We've endured too much to allow it to end this way." Taylor puts a comforting hand on Ridge's shoulder as Brooke leaves. Ridge, however, recoils, his face concerned. For the first time, he questions whether any option he makes will actually offer him peace as the weight of his choice hangs heavy over him. The Forrester family and others are affected by the encounter. Returning home, Brooke struggles with a mixture of heartache and resolve. She is aware that the battle for Ridge's affections is far from over, but she also realizes that she might have to step back and let him make his own decisions. Conversely, Taylor is cautiously hopeful. Though a persistent doubt persists, she feels that her bond with Ridge is stronger than ever. Will their rekindled relationship be able to resist Ridge's past with Brooke? Ridge is forced to contend with his feelings and the fallout from his deeds. He must decide not only between two women but also what sort of life he wants to lead and what kind of person he wants to be. The night's dramatic events represent a watershed in Brooke, Ridge, and Taylor's continuous story. Those around them are still enthralled by their love triangle, which is full of passion, heartache, and resiliency. One thing, though, is evident as the dust settles: the path ahead will not be easy, and the decisions they make today will have an impact on their futures in ways they cannot yet fathom.